Hi there, everybody. My name is Diane, and I am here in Dallas with Plant-Based Dallas. And I wanted to show you some of the books that I have in my library. Started researching this after both Pat and I had had cancer, and started to find out possibly why we even came down with cancer. Someone had suggested that we read the book Eat to Live. So this was sort of my first venture into the plant-based world, is Eat to Live by Dr. Fuhrman. Very eye-opening. In it, it had several references to the China study, so I picked up the China study. This was the sort of gold standard for plant-based. China study by Dr. Campbell and his son. After I read that, I started learning that there was a lot to this whole food plant-based idea. And it's different from being a vegan. You have a vegan and then you have a whole food plant-based lifestyle. A vegan will eat vegan cheeses and vegan Oreos and vegan chips, whereas the whole food plant-based tries to stick as close to the whole food as possible. So whereas vegans will eat chips and fries and prepared baked goods, whole foods plant-based will avoid these processed foods and just eat the real foods. So that's the difference between a whole foods plant-based. I wanted to know more of the science. I'm a really science type person. So this was referenced in some of those books, and it goes into grand detail. There's a lot of overlap on being a vegan and a whole food plant-based. And so these are good books to read. This has chapters on athletes being vegan. It has chapters on young toddlers. It has chapters on pregnancy, elderly. So this is a good go-to resource book. Dr. Brenda Davis' name is very familiar in the plant-based world. And obviously, we watched the video Forks Over Knives. If you have not seen that video on Netflix or Amazon, I suggest that you really do take the time to watch it. It's a great video. And of course, they have come up with their own set of cookbooks and websites, and you can get free recipes. And this is a Forks Over Knives cookbook that I have in my library. Then just last year, Dr. Michael Greger, who was with nutritionfacts.org, this has become my go-to Bible. He has a chapter on every single chronic disease, most of them, and he has compiled all the medical journals and medical publications for us, and basically a third of this book is all the footnotes from all the medical studies. So he has a chapter on how not to die from heart disease, chapter 2, how not to die from lung disease, brain disease, digestive cancer, infection, diabetes, high blood pressure, liver disease, blood cancer, kidney disease, breast cancer, suicidal depression. Yes, depression is tied to the foods we eat. Prostate cancer, Parkinson's, and iatrogenic causes. That's correct. So this is a great book to go to. A lot of times I'll copy a chapter out and send it to someone who has been recently diagnosed with one of those chronic diseases. Dr. Esselstyn, if you are familiar with the plant-based world, his name is, you'll start hearing that a lot more, has done a lot of studies on heart disease, and he has shown and has said that 97 to 98% of all heart disease is reversible if you would change your diet. And I know that sounds extreme in changing your lifestyle, but that's really not as extreme as someone cutting open your chest bone and doing surgery. So if you know anybody with heart disease, this is a great book to recommend to them. And again, it's not very thick, big words, and recipes at the back as well. What about cancer? This is a great book for anyone in your family that's been diagnosed with cancer. The Cancer Survivor's Guide. And who is that by? Neil Barnard. Neil Barnard has a lot of books that he's published. That's one of them. Another one that I just ordered, I have not read yet, Foods That Fight Pain. Again, if you know anyone with autoimmune diseases, lupus, arthritis, or anything of that nature, this would be a good book to read. Again, I have not read this one yet. It's on my to-do list. A couple years ago, he put out this nice, simple, great for vacation power foods, where he goes over each of the power foods and why they're so good for us. So, easy read, Power Foods by Dr. Barnard. And of course, the Protein Aholic book that came out. I had to read it just because I needed to be able to answer what's the word? I had to be able to answer that question that all of our friends and family members say when we tell them what we've done. Well, where do you get your protein? Okay, this will give you all the talking points that you need. Bottom line is we don't need as much protein as the standard American diet has right now. So he goes to show us that. Okay, the most recent books that I have, The Cheese Trap, another one by Dr. Bernard, telling us that, you know, this is one of the worst foods that we eat, the standard American diet. Cheese is on everything. It increases our cholesterol. It's filled with saturated fat. It causes increase in blood pressure, diabetes. Okay, there's no reason why we should be still eating cheese. And he goes on to tell the cheese story. This was just published in 2016. Now, if you need help on how to do a plant-based lifestyle and how to make that changeover, this is one of the best books. And they even have a Facebook group you can subscribe to, 7-Day Rescue Diet. I don't even want to call this a diet because it's not a diet. It's a change in lifestyle. And I promise you, if you start doing this, you are going to feel so much better. You'll never have to buy another box of Kleenex. You won't ever have a stomach ache. You won't have a headache. Eating plants is really the way to go. And this is a great how-to book with lots of recipes and day-to-day tips and advice. Now, if you want cookbooks, you really should get an Instapot, which is a pressure cooker, and this is one of the best Instapot cookbooks on there. Jill Newsonow. Not only are there recipes in here, excuse me while I go turn off my timer. Hold on. My eat loaf is done, so I don't want to burn that. Okay, back to this. What's great about this cookbook is she has charts in here. So here's the grain chart. You can see how much liquid to grain to time and what its yield is. She has that for beans, for grains, for vegetables, for rice. So this is a great cookbook, Vegan Under Pressure. And if you don't have an Instapot or a pressure cooker, it's a great Mother's Day present. I would suggest the Instapot, really like that one. Okay, here's a cookbook on prevent and reverse heart disease, a whole cookbook by the Esselstyns. Dr. Esselstyn has done a lot of research on heart disease, and this is a cookbook that his wife and I believe his wife and daughter helped publish. Prevent and reverse heart disease. Another great person in the plant-based world is Chef AJ, and you can find her on YouTube. She has written this book, Unprocessed, several years old, but it's got great recipes. She likes to use a lot of raw foods. She does have some cooked foods in here, but she looks great. She's got lots of energy, and she has a really nice personal story to go along with it. So Unprocessed, thin book. She had depression. I can't remember exactly what else were her issues, but she's a changed person and she's changing so many lives every day. So Unprocessed by Chef AJ. Now, a couple more cookbooks. The Oh She Glows. I love her recipes, but you got to be careful. They have oil and sugars in them, so you want to minimize your oils or completely remove them from your diet, and I try and do that. I will adjust her recipes, but she's got some good spices and ideas in here. And of course, the Minimalist Baker. My daughter gave me this recipe book. Got to adjust most of these recipes in here as well, but great ideas. So that gives you some ideas of resources. Hope you enjoy them. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.